Conservative New Media viewers and Jeremy Lin fans around the world, what is up? It's me, PFE, Paula Villarreal, the NBA expert. We're here to discuss the Houston Rockets' 107-94 loss tonight to the Los Angeles Clippers in Houston, Texas. With the loss, Houston drops to 4-3 on the season, and it is their second loss against the Clippers this season. Now, I made a short video about this game, and that video you can see on our channel if you'd like to go check it out. The video is about 10 minutes long, and it's going to be a lot shorter than this video is going to be. This is the long video about the game. Okay, this game was a tale of two different halves. Houston went into halftime with, I believe, a 9-point advantage, like 55-46, I think it was. In the second half, they were outscored pretty substantially by, I want to say, 22 points. So the Clippers went into halftime and they made adjustments. And in the second half, those adjustments paid off. I thought that they kind of shrank the lane on Houston on offense, meaning that they kind of stacked more defenders closer to the paint on defense. That was my take in watching the game. And they also played some small ball with Darren Collison and Chris Paul on the floor at the same time. And look, Doc Rivers is a good coach. I've always thought he was good at making adjustments. He was good at it when he was with the Celtics. I know when they played against the Miami Heat or they played against the Cleveland Cavaliers, they were very good at making adjustments. Was Doc Rivers and his coaching staff. And I think that's what happened tonight. And Houston didn't adjust to it well. They didn't respond to the adjustments. So, unfortunately, they lost. Now, Patrick Beverley had a good statistical night. He had a career high in points with, I believe, 19 points and a career high in steals with 4 steals. It's good. It's good to see Patrick back up to speed. He's had a tough couple of games this year. And so it's nice to see him find his groove, hit some three-pointers, play good defense. So, great. James Harden and Jeremy Lin are hurting. Jeremy came into the game with a sore right elbow, which is the elbow that he shoots with. So if your elbow's hurting, and I know Jeremy missed part of practice yesterday because of the elbow, you might not want to shoot much. And if you do shoot, you might not shoot well. James Harden came into the game with a bruised foot, kind of on the top side of his foot that he apparently hurt in the Portland game. And he didn't look like himself in this game. So both of those guys were hurting in this game, and I don't think that helped the Rockets much. As I mentioned, Doc Rivers did a good job with his adjustments, and I don't think Kevin McHale did a great job necessarily in reacting to those adjustments. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. The team looks like they don't have great chemistry yet. They also look like they don't have resiliency, meaning that when they face a little bit of adversity, they kind of fall apart. And it's not good. That's unfortunate, but it's also not surprising. This is a young team. There's only one guy on the team that's older than 30 years old. That's Francisco Garcia. And they're new to each other. And they just don't have it right now. And they're playing a good team tonight that was coached well. So they were great when they were able to do their thing. But when they had to kind of adjust a little bit and dig in and dial it in, it wasn't there. And that's just going to take time. That's pretty typical, actually. Very typical. And it's probably even more typical for a young team. A team that's young like the Houston Rockets are young. I think they're one of the 3 youngest teams by average age of player in the NBA. So far this season, LA owns Houston because all 3 losses Houston has suffered this year have been to teams from Los Angeles. They lost twice to the Clippers and once to the Lakers. So right now, LA greater than Houston. As I said, Jeremy wasn't fully healthy tonight, and he didn't have a great game tonight. Individually, his statistics weren't that good. This was his toughest game of the year. However, his effect on the team and team statistics were very good. And I'll talk about that in a little bit in terms of advanced statistics. Okay, let's go over some of the basic stats very quickly here. Patrick Beverley, who started 19 points, 38 minutes played, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 steals, 2 block shots, 3 turnovers, 5 personal fouls. His plus-minus was a -12. Patrick had a career high in points, 19, and a career high in steals with 4. It was a really good night for him individually. His team statistics weren't as good, which I'll talk about in a second, but his personal statistics were very good. As I said, this is great. We need Jeremy and Patrick to play well for the team. So it is good to see that Patrick having a good game. This was great. I'm really happy for him, and the team benefits when he's playing like this. Patrick's efficiency in the game was 23. Jeremy played 26 minutes. He had 6 points, 1 rebound, and 7 assists. Shot 3 of 7 from the field, 0 of 0 3-pointers, 0 of 0 free throw attempts, 1 steal, no block shots, 5 turnovers, 1 personal foul, and his plus-minus was a +1. Jeremy's efficiency for the game was 6. Chris Paul, the starting point guard for the Los Angeles Clippers, finished the game with 14 points, 5 rebounds, and 13 assists. He played 37 minutes. Plus-minus was a +14. His efficiency number was 23. Darren Collison, who is the backup point guard for the Clippers, finished with 10 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists in 24 minutes. His efficiency number was 10. So of the 4 point guards in this game, Jeremy had the lowest efficiency number. This was just an off night for him individually. But as I said, his effect on the team was a good one. When he was on the court, the team was better than when he was off the court. And when he was on the court, the team was better than the Clippers. So that's important to understand. Sometimes your personal statistics aren't good, but the team's stats with you on the court are good. Sometimes your personal statistics are good, and the team's stats are not good when you're on the court. So looking further in the statistics, this wasn't a bad outing for Jeremy, even though his own numbers weren't that great. And I'll talk about that in a second. Okay, let's go over this a little bit more. Let's just talk about Jeremy. As I said, this was his worst individual night of the year. He had 6 really good games coming into this game. And tonight was not a good game. And you expect that. He's still a young and inexperienced player, and he's going to have games like this. The Clippers are a tough matchup for Jeremy. That's because Chris Paul is a very good defender, and the Clippers have good shot blockers. So the things that Jeremy likes to do, like driving to the basket, are tougher against the Clippers because DeAndre Jordan and backup center Ryan Hollins are good at protecting the rim, and Chris Paul is good at perimeter defense. So this is a difficult team. Although Jeremy did well against them in the first meeting, tonight just wasn't his night. And because he didn't shoot any threes and he didn't get any free throws, my guess is he's not feeling that good physically, even though he probably wouldn't say that. He probably didn't want to drive a lot and get hit a lot in this game. He had a couple of drives, but it didn't look like he was looking to take a bunch of fouls in this game. Let's just put it that way. Now, when Jeremy struggled in this game, he tried to do too much. And we've talked about this before, and I'll talk about it in the quarter by quarter. This is what happens for Jeremy. When he does struggle, it's usually this issue. It's usually try to pass when you shouldn't make a pass, or when you're not sure if you should make a pass. Try to drive and you get hung up in the air, this type of thing. Try to play a little too fast. And so that kind of happened for Jeremy tonight. And it's happened a couple times this season. This was probably the most that it happened. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen. That's the way that you learn. You go through it, you do it, you learn from it, and you get better. And Jeremy's been doing that, so I expect him to learn from this as well. This was one of those games, and he's got to keep working at it. And there were times where he held on the ball a little too much, where he tried to do a little too much individually when it would have been better to probably pass off the ball and just kind of do that. That might have been a better alternative. And look, if you do that, if you're pounding the ball and it doesn't work well, then the team might not be real happy with you. But it's okay. Like I said, look, this happens. It's going to happen. And you learn from it. You just got to go through it. So this is typical for a young point guard. You see this all the time. This is a very common thing for young point guards. Now, you will hear people saying, I've already seen it, people talking on Twitter and internet sites about Beverley's great, Jeremy sucks, da-da-da-da. So you're going to hear plenty of that. However, there's a couple things from that. Number one, you saw what Chris Paul did, I think, either in the third quarter or the fourth quarter of this game, when he attacked Patrick Beverley. And he got a couple of fouls on Patrick very quickly. And those fouls, I think, led to Houston being in the penalty quickly. What that means is when you get like 5 fouls in a quarter, every foul from then on, the other team shoots free throws, even if you're not in the act of shooting. So Chris Paul did this to Jeremy in the first game. And when he decided to do it to Patrick, it was the same thing. This is why I try to tell people, look, Patrick's a good defender, but don't think he's going to stop Chris Paul, because that's not going to happen. And that's basically what, in that sequence, Chris Paul was saying to him, you're not going to stop me. And if I want to foul you out of the game, I'm going to foul you out of the game. So it's kind of like, yeah, I'm the boss. I give Patrick credit because he competed hard in this game. And he did well, real well. But Chris Paul's Chris Paul. Now, Chris Paul is not playing at the level now that he was playing in the first time these teams played. His level has fallen off, and it fell off right after the Houston game, the first time around. So Houston was the fourth team that the Clippers played this season. For the first 4 games of the season, Chris Paul was playing just on a ridiculous level. Just playing like his efficiency numbers were like 2 levels above LeBron James at his best. So it's just, nobody could do anything against him. Now he's not playing at that level, but he's still really good. And if he wants to go after you, he can. And when he wanted to do that tonight, he did it, regardless of whether Patrick was guarding him, regardless of whether Jeremy was guarding him. Jeremy got a steal against him. I know Patrick got at least 1 steal against him, but If he wants to get you in trouble, get you in foul trouble, you're in trouble. So that happened when Chris Paul wanted it to happen tonight, when Patrick Beverley was guarding him. Next, and I mentioned this above, the advanced statistics for this game. And I just was talking about this on Twitter. The advanced statistics, and I'm talking about offensive rating, defensive rating, and net rating. Offensive rating is like how many points your team scores per 100 possessions when you're on the court. It's just it's a standardized way of talking about how effective the team's offense is when you're on the court. That's the easiest way to understand it. The reason it's per 100 possessions is just to make it the same for everybody. Defensive rating is the same thing, just on defense. How many points does your team give up when you're on the court? And then net rating is just the offensive rating subtracted by the defensive rating. So you want a positive net rating because that means the team's scoring more points with you on the court than they're giving up. Well, in those metrics, the team was good when Jeremy was on the court. They had a good offensive rating, a good defensive rating, and the net rating for Jeremy tonight was 7.7. If you have a positive rating in a game that your team lost, you did well, or the team did well when you were on the court. Jeremy was one of only, I think, 3 players who had a positive rating for the Rockets tonight. What that means is that the team was better when he was on the court, even though Jeremy's statistics individually weren't good. Conversely, Patrick's individual statistics were good, but the team statistics when he was on the court were not good. The team did not have a good offensive rating. They did not have a good defensive rating. And the net rating for the team when Patrick was on the court was minus 16.8. So what I'm saying here is that when Jeremy was on the court, the team's rating was about 25 points better than when Patrick was on the court. And that's why you use advanced statistics. If you just looked at the box score of this game, you said Patrick was great and Jeremy wasn't good. And that's true individually. But on the effect on the team, or how the team did with those guys on the court, the team did better when Jeremy was on the court. Now, it's not a perfect metric, because some of that has to do with, well, when you're on the court, who else is on the court with you, and who else is on the court against you? Because you're not always on the court against the same people, and you're not always on the court with the same people. So all of those things are true, but this still holds up. And these numbers correlate to plus minus. Jeremy had a positive plus minus in this game, like whatever it was, or it was 0 maybe. Maybe it was plus 0. Well, Patrick had a negative plus minus. So you expect to see these numbers because the team was outscored with Patrick on the court, whereas it was not outscored with Jeremy on the court. And that's why all of these statistics are important, all of them. And so in looking at these, I actually feel better about Jeremy's performance tonight than I would have otherwise. I feel a lot better about it, actually, because he's having a positive effect on the team, or the team did better when he was around than not around. Good. I think Jeremy, part of why he might have tried to do too much tonight was because James Harden's hurting. In other words, James Harden's a guy that you go to and you pass the ball to, and he ISOs and he does different things. Well, he might not have wanted to do that tonight. He just might not have been able to do it because of his foot. So maybe that's why Jeremy forced the action a little bit more. I don't know. I'm not sure. And that can happen. Jeremy still needs work. He still needs a good amount of work to be able to make good decisions, have offensive one-on-one moves, runners, floaters, everything we always talk about, not get stuck when he's on a drive. Some of those things he'll never be great at. He's not, no matter how much he practices, he's never going to become Michael Jordan when he drives the basketball. But he can get better and better and better. And he will get better. And he already has gotten better. So I just thought tonight he tried to do a little bit more than what he's capable of doing right now. Particularly against a team with a great shot blocker in DeAndre Jordan. And maybe when his shot's not falling, so because of his elbow, or he doesn't want to shoot. So it just was one of those circumstances tonight, and it didn't work out great individually for him. As I alluded to, the team does not have rhythm and chemistry right now. And this has an effect on Jeremy. The team is not in sync. It doesn't fit right now. The team doesn't fit together. So that's often going to hurt you individually, particularly somebody like Jeremy, Jeremy's somebody who's not a one-on-one player. He's more of a 5-on-5 type of player. He works better in that type of a setup. So if the team's out of sync, it's going to hurt somebody like Jeremy even more. And they just have to keep working at it. They just have to keep working at it. This is something that you can only work through by going through it. And that's what they're doing right now. Look, Kevin McHale might not be the right coach for this team. On the other hand, there's only so many coaches like Doc Rivers in the league or that are available. So if you get rid of Kevin McHale, you can't go hire Doc Rivers because he already coaches for somebody. And there's not 10 different guys that are as good as Doc Rivers out there right now. So what I'm saying is even if you don't think McHale's the best guy, well, who's going to replace him? There are names out there. There are people out there. I've seen people talk about Stan Van Gundy, who coached Dwight Howard in Orlando. Jeff Van Gundy. I don't know. I don't want to talk and get too far ahead of ourselves here. This is early in the season. This team's still above 500 in the standings, and this is all normal. But there could come a time where the team reaches its upper limits with McHale as the coach. But we'll deal with that if and when it comes. We're not there now. We're not even. That's much, much further down the line now. I thought that the team's drama issues were better tonight. I did not see a lot of arguing or fighting. Now, somebody said in the comments of the short video that they saw Harden and Lynn arguing on the three-point line whenever someone else was shooting free throws. I didn't see that. I'm not saying it's not true. It could be true. I did see when Jeremy got hurt on the play that James Harden went over to make sure he was okay. So that's good. This is much better than guys yelling at each other and all this type of stuff. So I thought that tonight was better from a drama perspective. And that's good. That's good. Even if the team loses, try to stay calm. Try to just kind of hang in there a little bit. As I said, the team is kind of lacking leadership. They're lacking cohesion. They're lacking toughness. And I mean toughness like Patrick Beverley being tough against Chris Paul. I mean like team toughness. mental toughness. They don't have that. A toughness is different than being competitive and going one-on-one, or it's not the same thing. The team isn't unified right now. There's not a unified strength of the team. And so when things don't go quite right, they kind of fall apart. And guys aren't really on the same page. And I think Clyde Drexler, or one of the announcers, said it tonight. Team looks like they don't like each other. And he didn't mean that they literally don't like each other. He just means that it's team's not playing unselfishly. The ball's not moving that well. Guys aren't necessarily helping each other out a lot on defense. And this can happen. This can happen. I'm not surprised. And hopefully it will improve. And improve sooner rather than later. But you have a team like this, you have some egos on the team. The team's new to each other. They're young, so you have a lot of guys that want to get theirs, get their numbers. And you go through this. You go through this. As I mentioned, I believe, in the last video that I did, or one of the recent videos, you often see teams who just come together like this. They don't succeed in the first year, which is why I predicted before the year began that I didn't think Houston was going to get past the second round of the playoffs. Because if you have to compete against teams like the Spurs, like the Thunder, like the Clippers, they've already been together longer. The core of those teams, like Chris Paul, DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin, they've already been together. And Doc Rivers, championship coach. So he's been through that. Kevin McHale hasn't been through that. The core of Houston hasn't been through that. Not together anyway. Dwight Howard's gone to the finals before, but not with the Houston Rockets. He hasn't. So it's it's a little disappointing to see this, but it's not a shock either. This is probably destined to happen in certain ways. So that's what I think from an overall perspective here of tonight. Jeremy had 6 good games to start the season, and tonight wasn't a great individual game. So it happens, but his team stats were very good. So I'm okay. I'm much better with this loss now that I know what the team stats were with him on and off. That makes me happy. He had a good effect. So good. Okay, let's talk about quarter by quarter here. I just primarily focus on Jeremy's stuff here. I had a bunch of notes about Patrick and the team, but let's just talk about Jeremy's stuff. Jeremy came into the game with the team trailing 18-8 and 5 minutes and 20 seconds left in the first quarter. So for another time this season, I think in almost every game so far this year, the team has started slow. It started slow when Patrick was in the starting lineup, and it started slow when Jeremy was in the starting lineup. So this is a problem. This is one of the problems for this team. They don't have urgency, which is what McHale said before this game. They asked him, why does this happen? He's like, well, we're not urgency. Well, you're the coach, so you have to help the guys have urgency. So they've got to figure this out. It's an issue right now. It really is, among other issues. Okay, the middle of the first, Jeremy was playing very good defense on Chris Paul and almost forced Chris Paul to travel, almost forced Chris Paul into a turnover. Didn't quite happen. Then Jeremy, late in the first, had a nice pass to Dwight Howard for a layup and one. So Dwight scored the basket and was fouled and got a free throw. Jeremy then had a pass to Francisco Garcia for a missed three-point shot. So that's a blown assist. Then Jeremy played more good defense on Chris Paul and forced him to miss a shot. Then Jeremy had an assist after James Harden got a steal. The ball came towards Jeremy. Jeremy then threw it ahead of him to James Harden, who simply laid the ball in or kind of mildly dunked it. It was just a nice little play by James Harden, and Jeremy completed the play. Then late in the first, Jeremy missed a driving left-handed layup. It was a great move. He had the angle. He had everything. He just put the ball up a little too hard off the backboard, and the reason why he did it was because he was afraid of DeAndre Jordan. So he was kind of looking where DeAndre Jordan was, because DeAndre Jordan's a great shot blocker. And this is the effect that shot blockers have on players driving to the basket. And this is why I said, if Jeremy's elbow's hurting him or he's not shooting well, he could have trouble against teams like the Clippers with great shot blockers. And tonight that was part of the case. Then Jeremy had a nice dish to Omer Asik for a layup off of a little pick and roll play. Also late in the first, Jeremy did have a nice left-handed layup. Then Clyde Drexler, our friend who we critiqued recently for his comments about Jeremy, actually said something nice about Jeremy. He said, yeah, this year Jeremy's doing better on his drives. Clyde said that Jeremy's driving, but he's more decisive on his drives. He's not jumping up in the air with nowhere to go and getting turnovers and stuff. I agree with that. That's true. That is the case. He still needs to get even better at it, but he has improved upon it. Then Jeremy had another pass to Omri Caspi, which was, again, a blown assist. So Omri Caspi missed a three-pointer. Then Jeremy had a nice dish to Omer Asik for a dunk attempt off of a pick-and-roll play. Omer missed the dunk, but he was fouled on the dunk attempt and got 2 free throws. So at the end of one quarter, Jeremy had 2 points, no rebounds, and 3 assists. His efficiency number was 4. Heading into the second quarter, Jeremy was on the court with Patrick. And then early in the second, Jeremy he and Omer were both standing in the lane for a couple of seconds. Now, there's a play or a rule known as 3 seconds. And what that rule is if you're on offense, or actually on defense too, you cannot stand in the lane for 3 seconds or more. You must be out of the lane before 3 seconds. And that's just, you can't just stand in the middle of the lane. It wouldn't be fair. You have to move and be outside of that rectangle. Both Jeremy and Omer were in the lane. And Omer got the foul call or the turnover because of the play, but Jeremy was he was a little bit of fault on that play too. Then Jeremy had a nice layup. He kind of worked right through the defense. Just a nice little play. Just a great play and a nice layup. So he was finding angles to score on, even with the shot blockers back there. Then Jeremy had a pass to Omer. It wasn't a perfect pass, a little bit behind Omer, but Omer was able to catch it and then finished up with with a layup. Then Jeremy was beaten on a layup by Willie Green. It was pretty good defense, but Willie Green just was able to get an angle on Jeremy, just barely got by him, and he was able to get the layup. Then Jeremy had his first turnover of the game. He tried to make a pass to Omer. I believe it was a bounce pass. And Omer kind of fumbled the ball. The ball went off of Omer's hands, but Jeremy was charged with a turnover. And I made a note then, and I said, don't bounce pass in traffic to Omer. Again, when Jeremy has issues, when he struggles a little bit, he tries to do too much, and a lot of it happens around the lane, around the paint. And it can be passes and bounce passes and handoffs, and he just tries to get a little bit too clever, tries to make plays happen that aren't there. And so that's kind of what this play was, and there would be more of that in this game as well. Then Jeremy on I think on 2 consecutive plays burned Willie Green. Just drove right by him, and Willie Green had to foul him. So Jeremy did a good job. He drew a couple fouls there on Willie Green. And not only does he get fouls then on Willie Green, again, it also works to put the Clippers in the penalty so that Houston can shoot free throw shots earlier in the period. So that was a really, really nice play. Or actually, a really nice 2 plays. Then, middle of the second, Jeremy had a really nice pass. It was across the lane. Jeremy was on the right-hand side of the lane, and Patrick Beverley set up on outside the three-point line, out on the left corner. And Jeremy passed the ball, and he passed it. He could have passed the ball to Dwight Howard coming down the lane for a dunk, but he didn't, because I don't think he saw Dwight when he made the pass. He passed the ball out to Patrick Beverley. Patrick Beverley hit a 3-point shot. So it actually turned out to be a great play, and Patrick and Jeremy were working well together in this little stretch of time. Then I made a note. Actually, that led to a Clippers timeout. So again, Jeremy was finding a little groove here and playing well. And Houston went on a run, and all of this run came with Jeremy on the court. And this goes to the advanced statistics, meaning, when Jeremy was on the court, the team did really well, or did better than when he was not on the court. And he was the one of the only players on the team that could say that. So that's, again, why it's important to know advanced statistics and not just the basic statistics. That led to a Clippers timeout, as I said. Soon after the timeout, this is still middle of the second, Jeremy got a little bit lost on defense. And we've seen this before with him. He wants to come down and help. He wants to play help defense, like help guard someone else's man if they're driving to the lane. But you can't lose. Pardon me. I know why I'm so tired. You can't lose your own man when you're doing that. You must keep your eye on your own guy. And we've talked about this before. This is an issue for Jeremy, and he has to keep working on it. And I saw a little bit of that tonight as well. Jeremy went out of the game with 7:26 left in the second quarter, I believe, or maybe a little bit after that. And so he got a breather, kind of took a break. Then he came back in. He wasn't out for very long. He was only out for like a minute or two. He didn't come in. I think Francisco Garcia might have gotten a foul or something. So Jeremy came back in. And they went to small ball. They went with Patrick at the point guard, Jeremy at shooting guard, James Harden at the small forward, Chandler Parsons, power forward, and Dwight Howard at center. So, looking at the stuff here, then Jeremy late in the second quarter was beaten on a play by J.J. Redick. Someone set a pick, J.J. Redick got free, and J.J. Redick hit a shot, and Redick was doing well against Houston again. He got off to a hot start. He was burning Harden early like he did in the first meeting, and he did hit the shot there against Jeremy as well. Then Jeremy also, he kind of let Reddick buy him again late in the second. That led to a and one play. Excuse me, by the Clippers. It wasn't by J.J. Redick, though. It was another player. I think J.J. Redick drove past Jeremy and then passed the ball, and that ended up leading to the and one play. But I made a note about that because Redick got by Jeremy, and that kind of created the play. So, again, you can't completely stop people on the perimeter, but that was a play where Redick did get the better of Jeremy. Halftime, Jeremy had 6 points and 6 assists. His efficiency number was 10, and he only had 1 turnover at that point in time. So he was playing very well. He had a very nice, really nice first half. And I forgot to mention, late in the second, Chris Paul, I think, already had 3 fouls. And so Jeremy torched him on a drive. He drove to his left. He kind of did a jab step. A jab step means one of your feet is planted. One of your feet is down like a pivot foot almost. So you take the other foot and you stick it out like you're throwing a jab, like in boxing. You kind of poke it out to kind of get your defender off balance, and then you drive by him. Jeremy did that. He set up Chris Paul. Chris Paul had 3 fouls, so he didn't want to get another foul, and Jeremy torched him. This was basically a payback move because of what Chris Paul did to Jeremy in the first game, which was Jeremy had a bunch of fouls, and so he couldn't play up on Chris Paul. Well, that's basically what Jeremy did here. He knew Chris Paul didn't want to get a foul, so he went right at him, and it worked really, really well. Okay, going to the third quarter, Jeremy came into the game with about 6 minutes or so left in the third, and this came right after Patrick Beverley had accumulated several fouls and difficult plays against Chris Paul. So this was the point in the game in which I was referring to earlier that Chris Paul decided that he was going to go after Patrick Beverley. I think Patrick Beverley had gotten a steal against him or something, and all of a sudden Chris Paul's like, oh, okay, now I'm going to get you in foul trouble, and I'm going to score on you, and et cetera. And that's exactly what he did. So in a very short period of time, all of a sudden, Patrick Beverley had 4 personal fouls in the middle of the third quarter, and so Kevin McHale had to get him out of there, and in came Jeremy. I'm trying to remember what the score was at that point in time, and I do not remember, and I don't have it written down. So again, Jeremy came in with about 6 minutes left, and he quickly had a turnover. He was trying to go a little bit too quickly in transition. On a fast break, he got ahead of himself. So he tried to make a pass before he knew what he was doing. Like he got caught up in the air or something. So that didn't work out. That was the second turnover of the game. Then soon after that, he had an assist to Chandler Parsons in transition. That was good. That was a nice play. Then late in the third, he had his third turnover. I put here that he's trying to do too much. And then he dribbled along the baseline, and he tried to dump the ball off to Dwight Howard, but it just wasn't a good play. And I made the note here, too much pounding the dribble, meaning Jeremy had the ball in his hands too long on this sequence. Now, look, that will happen. It's like Steve Nash. Well, Steve Nash will have the ball in his hands for the whole sequence, but it's okay, but you want to get the proper result. And so the sequence didn't look that good. And Jeremy's got to continue to work on this. Get a little smoother with his dribbling. Make good decisions. Don't try to make plays that aren't there. So this was part of the struggles for Jeremy tonight. He was trying to do a little bit too much and holding on to the ball a little bit too long and kind of trying to not ISO, but run the show as the point guard, but it wasn't completely effective. And there's just things he needs to keep working on, the skills to be able to do that a little bit better. And he will. He will. This is fairly typical for a young point guard. It's just something he's got to keep working on. Then Jeremy was able to play decent defense against Chris Paul, and that led to a miss by Chris Paul. Late in the third, Jeremy had a turnover on another bounce pass attempt to Omer Ashik. So this is the second play of the game where he had a turnover in trying to pass the ball on a bounce pass to Omer Ashik. And I made the note, going too fast. So again, Jeremy was trying to do too much. And again, he was trying to do things that he's not completely capable of doing yet because of his skill level, just because of his abilities and his limitations. He's got to just play within himself a little bit more. And look, this is what Mikhail talked about, the 29 points and 9 turnovers comment from last year. And some of the way Jeremy was playing will make people upset on the team. In other words, if you're not completely comfortable or ready to do those things, don't hold the ball quite as long. Pass it off to Harden or pass it off to somebody else. And it's fine. This is just the way it is for a young point guard. This is going to happen. And tonight it happened to Jeremy. We've seen it happen before, but we've also seen him play better as regards turnovers than he did tonight. Right after the turnover number 4, he then stole the ball from Chris Paul, which was great. So he got it right back. It was just an excellent play. I think he was able to poke the ball away from Chris Paul, and it was great. And then Jeremy went to try to do he went to try to score the ball, and he went up against DeAndre Jordan. I thought DeAndre Jordan blocked the shot. I'm almost sure he did, actually, but I think somehow in this sequence or right around now, they gave Jeremy another turnover. I think they called that the ball went off of his foot, which I think might have been a mistake. I don't think that's what happened. But right in this area, they did call him for another turnover. So in this quarter, he basically had 4 turnovers. And that's too many. I mean, you can't do that. And again, he was trying to make things happen. I think picking up the slack for James Harden, but got a little beyond himself. And so he wants to limit that. Don't try to do it unless you're feeling really comfortable, you're in a groove, etc., etc. You'll be able to do this more in the future than what he can do right now. And he wants to be the point guard. He wants to run the team, and that's good, but you don't have to do it all yourself. You got other players that can do things for you or make shots to play within the offense right now, particularly as you continue to work on your skills. So at the end of the third quarter, Jeremy had 6 points, 1 rebound, and 7 assists. He had played 21 minutes, and his efficiency was 8. So his efficiency in the third quarter was negative. He came into the third quarter with a 10 efficiency, and by the end of the third quarter, it was down to 8. So it was a struggling quarter for him. Okay, going to the fourth quarter, Jeremy came into the game with 5 minutes left, and Houston was up 88-83. Soon after he came into the game, Jeremy missed a jump shot from the top of the circle. There, right above the free throw line, there's that kind of semicircle. So Jeremy missed a shot from right around that area. Then I made a note that late in the fourth, Jeremy got hit, or he hit himself, or he got hurt, and he was down close, like under the basket, not on the ground, but like standing, kind of leaning over, and James Harden came over to check on him. So people said, Jeremy falls down and nobody on the team cares. Well, James Harden came over to check on Jeremy. I thought that was good. I said I wasn't worried about drama in this game. You know, the team they didn't seem like that their chemistry wasn't great, but there wasn't drama and people yelling at each other and stuff, at least that I didn't see. So good. That's good to see. Then I put late in the fourth, Jeremy struggles on a drive. He got hung up, kind of had to stop his dribble, and it didn't work out. A little bit stiff on the move. It's just something he has to keep working. And then Chris Paul got by Patrick Beverley and passed it out to Darren Collison for a three-pointer. And now on that play, Jeremy was guarding Darren Collison, so he kind of got beat on that and thought that play pretty much ended the game. At that point, okay, I want to take something back. I said when Jeremy came in the game was 88-83 Houston. That is not true. It was 88-83 Clippers. So when Jeremy came in, the Houston was already losing this game. So I think the Clippers had kind of gone on a bit of a run when he was out of the game. Then Jeremy got beaten on a play by Chris Paul. Chris Paul got a little layup on him, I believe. Then Jeremy missed on a little floater shot, and I put he was a little out of control on the shot. So again, he was trying to do a little too much here. And that was basically, we went right into the end of the game. The good part about this last stretch, was that McHale put him back in the game with the game on the line. In other words, he put Jeremy in with confidence to try to help win the game, even though Jeremy hadn't played well in the third quarter of the game. So that's kind of how this game went, meaning such that Jeremy was very good in the first half and really not so good in the second half. And again, it's going to happen. It's going to happen for anybody. For any player, you're going to have moments like this, but particularly for a young player. So it's too bad, but I'm not surprised, and I'm not freaking out about it, certainly. Okay, the summary is Jeremy's effect on the game overall was a very good one, meaning he was really, really good in the first half, and he was not good in the second half, but how well he played in the first half overwhelms how poorly he played in the second half. And it just means that he was great, basically, in the first half, and that's good. So his overall effect for the team was good, and that'll get lost in this, and doubters will lose it, and his stats didn't look that good, but the team was better with him on the court tonight than with him off the court. The team just does not, they don't have a real soul yet. They do lack chemistry. That is there. They've just got to stop pointing fingers, stop leaking information to your sources, writing stuff on message boards, all of this, and dig in. Come together rather than whining to the media. That's what the team needs to do now. They have to work through this. When you go through tough times, they either break you apart or they pull you together. The team's got to decide and make a commitment that they're going to pull together here. And I think they will. It might take a little time and there might be some more drama between now and then, but I think they will do that. They really don't have much of a choice unless they want to try to get people traded or this stuff out. You can't do that forever. At some point, you've got to kind of put your feet down and get it done. So I think that time will come. Again, I do think Doc Rivers schooled Kevin McHale tonight. I think that did happen, and that's why this game was different in the first half as compared with the second half. Jeremy's individual stats were not good. They weren't. They were the worst of the year for him. But his advanced stats were very good, and that is a good sign. If you're going to struggle, it's nice to struggle with good advanced stats and have the team do well when you're on the court. Let's just move on to the next game. As I said, the team needs to come together now. Don't let this break you apart and you start squabbling and whining. Pull it together. And I did like what I saw from the team tonight in that regard. Yeah, the chemistry wasn't good, but they weren't pointing fingers and yelling at people either, like the Lakers game. That's good. I think they're starting to realize this is going to take some time. So why don't we not whine and point fingers and yell at people? Let's just calm down and slow down here. It's not going to get fixed immediately. You can't expect that to be the case. So you can't get caught up in hype. You need to just settle in and do your work. And some of it, the work that you have to do is to go through games like this, because that's the only way that you learn what you need to do. Again, I saw this, as I mentioned earlier, I saw this with LeBron when the Cavs, when he was with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and we were with the Heat, particularly with the Cavaliers, and they kept getting beat, I believe, by the Celtics when Doc Rivers was coaching them. Well, they were getting out-coached and out-executed. You have to learn that. You have to learn what the mistakes are making, and hopefully the players need to learn things and the coaches need to learn things. So this is the process. This is the process. And so the players need to approach it like that. It's going to take time. Settle in and just let it happen. And I thought they were better about that in this game than they were in the Lakers game, certainly. Okay, I want to thank Gary Chen, the blogger and artist from Taiwan, for the artwork you're looking at now on the screen. We will include in the information below the video description, below the video player, in the video description, information so you can go and learn more about Gary Chen. He is a member of the Jeremy-only Lin Garden fan club of Taiwan. If you didn't see the long video / update video I did earlier in the day about the Lakers game and team drama, certainly encourage you to go and check that out on our channel. It took me a while to get it done, but I did get it done, and I know a lot of you wanted to see that, so go and check it out if you're interested in that. And if this video gets translated, if my friend or friend is able to do it, then I will put a piece of information about that in the video description below the video player when that takes place, if it takes place. And if it doesn't, that's okay. I don't know if it will or will not. Okay, the next game is against the Toronto Raptors, and it will take place on Monday, November 11th, 2013, at 8 p.m. Eastern Time in the United States. That is the 8th game of the regular season, and it will then take place at 9 a.m. in the morning on Tuesday, November 12th in Taipei, Taiwan. It is currently 1:53 a.m. early Sunday, November 10th or 11th here in the United States, which means it is about 2:53 p.m. on Sunday, November 10th or 11th in Taipei right now. Thumbs up, thumbs down, your comments below. Come and join us on the Conservative New Media Facebook group, which has over 2,500 members and counting. You'll find information about that in the video description. Come and join us and follow us on the CNM Jalen Vids Twitter account. Have a lot of fun over there. Talk to people. It's nice. And come and join us over there if you're on Twitter. Once again, I am Paul F. Villarreal, the NBA expert. Thanks for watching Conservative New Media. We strive to be the #1 Jeremy Lin YouTube fan channel. Sorry for all the yawns. I think that's because I'm still having a lot of trouble breathing through my nose. So I get out of breath really easily, which makes me yawn. I guess that's just kind of how the human body works. Look, it's too bad we lost this game. And I think it could have been avoided if the coaching staff had done better in adjusting to what the Clippers did after halftime. But, it happened. And again, the time might come where Kevin McHale needs to go. But we're a long way from that. It's one thing at a time. The team's still new. Let's just sit and wait a little bit. Let this thing kind of come together, especially when James Harden's hurting and Jeremy's hurting with some injury issues. So I'm okay with this. Particularly, again, I'm much more okay after looking at the advanced statistics. So let's move on to the next game. Hopefully Jeremy can just do better in that game and the team can win, and we can go from there. Toronto is not a great team. They're not terrible, but they're not that good either. So it's certainly a winnable game, particularly at home, and hopefully the team can win and things can start looking up again. Okay. Hope everybody's having a nice night or nice day wherever you are around the world when you watch this video. Take care of yourself, and we will talk to you soon.